Okay, so another way to factor trinomials when the a value is greater than 1, so when a is greater than 1, is we're going to use our method of grouping. So whenever we group, we need an even number of terms. So trinomials, though, have 3 terms, so that's not even. So what we're going to do is we're going to actually zoom in here. We're going to split 11x up so that it ends up being 4 terms in total instead of the 3 terms you see. So what we do first is 3 times 10, so the a times c, which is going to equal 30. So then from there, we're going to find the factors of 30 that are going to combine to give us 11. So we know there's 3 and 10. We know there's 5 and 6. So out of these, we know 5 and 6. When you add, that equals 11. Okay, so I'm going to rewrite this entire thing. So instead of 3x squared plus 11x, it's going to say plus 6x plus 5x plus 10. So if you notice, I completely replaced 11x by the 6x plus 5x. Okay, so now I have 1, 2, 3, 4 terms. So once you have the 4 terms, you can group. So I put 3x squared plus 6x together in one group, and then I'm adding it to my second group of 5x plus 10. Okay? So now what I'm going to look at is grouping like we've done before in, I think, 8.1 there was grouping. So what is the GCF just in the first group? Well, that would be they're both 3 and 6 are both divisible by 3, and then they both have at least 1x. So we're going to pull out a 3x. So we're left with x plus 2. When you divide each of these by 3x, that's what you get. Then for the second group, divide both by 5. So we have plus 5, and then left over you have x plus 2. So remember, the whole idea with grouping is we want to have the same thing in the same binomial in each group. So from there, now I will be able to factor out the x plus 2. So x plus 2 is out in front, and then all that's left over is 3x plus 5. And notice now for my final answer, I put this as 2 multiplied binomials because we're factoring, so this is now multiplication. Okay? All right, so I'm going to try one more of these. So I'm going to jump down to C, because if you notice now, we're dealing with, we have 2x squared minus 15x plus 7. So I want you to see that no matter if it's like A was all addition and C has has addition and subtraction, it won't make a difference on the steps. So we're going to start out by doing A times C, which is 2 times 7, which is 14. Once you multiply that A times C, then you find the factors of 14 that are going to combine to give you negative 15x. So we have 14 and 1 and 7 and 2. Okay, so we know 14 and 1, there's some way that we could get negative 15. So how could we combine 14 and 1 to give us negative 15? Well, it would have to be negative 14 plus negative 1. Okay, so we're going to rewrite this whole thing, and then we're going to write minus 14x plus negative 1x, and then I'm going to continue on with the plus 7. So see how in the green I replaced the negative 15x with negative 14x plus negative 1x. Okay, so now I can group. So I have 2x squared minus 14x as the first group, plus negative 1x plus 7 in my second group. Okay, so these are 2 groups that are being added together. So now I want to find their GCF. So this first one, both parts are divisible by 2x. So 2x goes out in front with an x minus 7 on the inside. So I want this x minus 7 to be in the other binomial. So I almost have that. I have negative 1x plus 7. So how could I turn it into be x minus 7? Well, you would have to divide both terms by negative 1. So now I have plus and I have this negative 1 on the outside with x minus 7 on the inside, which is good because I have my x minus 7. So then from there, I am going to divide both by x minus 7. So I have x minus 7 out in front, and then my leftover is 2x plus a negative 1, which is the same thing as 2x minus 1. Okay? All right, so you guys can take a look at B and D yourself. It's the same idea, and then you can check your work with the other videos. The answers are on there. So no matter which way you factor these, the other video provides another method of factoring. This is just factoring when A is greater than 1 using grouping. Okay, so if you take a look at, I'll do one from set example 2 here. Now, even though it says when AC is negative, it doesn't make a difference. So when we multiply 5 times negative 2, we get negative 10. So you just have to find the factors of negative 10 that combine to give you negative 9. So factors of negative 10 means that it has to be one negative and one positive. Okay, so this could also technically be 10 and negative 1, but which one of these is going to add to give you negative 9? That's this first one right here. So we're going to replace negative 9y with minus 10y plus 1y, and then I have the minus 2. So this got replaced by this. So now I have the 4 terms, so I can group. Plus 1y minus 2. Okay? So then from there, we're finding a GCF. So we know these both are divisible by 5y. So I pull that out in front. And I have y minus 2 remaining. Now if you look, what do I already have here? I already have y minus 2. So I'm just going to rewrite that. But now remember, there's something technically right here, and that's our imaginary 1, okay? So those two we still need to make sure, so that when we write our final answer, we have the divide out y minus 2, so that goes first. And then your leftover is what I circled in green, 5y plus 1. Okay? So that is for example 2, so it's the exact same steps. So any of those other examples will work out the same way. And then I just want to jump over and look at example 3 real quick. So this is now when A is negative. So when A is negative, there is just a first step. So we'll say step 1, factor out the negative. Okay, so how we do that is we divide everything by negative 1. Okay, so that goes out in front, and then what's left over is a positive 4x squared plus 8x and now minus 5. So the signs of everything just changed. So now what I want you to think about is this is now exactly like the other examples I did on the previous slide. So you're going to multiply a times c. So this gives you 4 times negative 5, which is negative 20. And what factors of negative 20 combine to give you 8? So we know we have 20 and 1, 10 and 2, 5 and 4. Now it's negative, so each time one of them would have to be negative. And then you would also have 20 and negative 1, 10 and negative 2, and 5 and negative 4. So the ones that are going to combine to give you 8 would be 10 and negative 2. So I'm going to rewrite. Negative 1 is still on the outside. 4x squared, now plus 10x. And then I have minus 2x minus 5. So this is what replaced my 8x. Okay, so then from there, you're going to have to go ahead and group so that you have 4x squared plus 10x, and then plus negative 2x minus 5. Now notice that it's 10x minus 2x, but I did 10x plus a negative 2x right in here because you want to make sure that you're always adding the groups together, okay? All right, so then from there, there's not a lot of room here, sorry guys. I'm going to jump over to the space down here. Okay, so now I have a GCF of 2x that I can pull out of the first group. So I'm left with 2x plus 5. Now the only thing, I have to make sure I keep my bracket with my negative 1 on the outside. So I just took care of that first group in red. And now in the second group, both of these are divisible just by negative 1. So then I have a negative 1 on the outside with 2x plus 5. And then close. So now they both have the 2x plus 5. So I can factor that out. So that's gone. Whoops. So I'm left with negative 1 on the outside. My first group is 2x plus 5 times 2x minus 1. Okay, so you don't have to end with the brackets. You could just do negative and then 2x plus 5 times 2x minus 1. Okay, so that would be your final answer for A. Sorry, there wasn't a lot of room. Now, example 4 is the same way. You just have to do a GCF first. And then you would do everything the same. So if you guys look at this first example, the GCF is 6. Or, no, it's not. It's 3. I'm sorry. I should actually read. Okay. All right, GCF is 3. All right, so then we have a 3 on the outside. And then inside the bracket, we have 2x squared minus 5x minus 12. So this should look familiar to the one we just did. Instead of a negative 1 on the outside, it's just a 3. So we just have to keep that there as we go ahead and we solve the rest of the problem. So A times C, which is 2 times negative 12, which is negative 24. So then from there, factors, we have 24 and 1, 12 and 2, 8 and 3, and 4 and 6. Now, one of these will always have to be negative, and then you would do the reverse. Okay, so we're looking for these to combine to give us negative 5. So the one that will give us negative 5 is negative 8 plus 3. So I'm going to rewrite this with my 3 on the outside, 2x squared minus 8x plus 3x minus 12. So this is what replaced the 5x, negative 5x. So then I'm going to do my groups. So 3 on the outside. I have 2x squared minus 8x plus 3x minus 12. So I'm going to take a look at GCFs, 2x and 2x here, and 3 and 3. So this will now be 3, and then I have 2x times x minus 4 plus 3 times x minus 4. So that's good. They both have the x minus 4, so that when I pull out that GCF, I divide this by x minus 4, divide this by x minus 4, so this is out in front. I'm going way over here. And then I'm left with the 2x plus 3. Now remember, on the outside, I am still left with that original GCF of 3. Okay, so this is just using grouping when you're working with the A value greater than 1.